As we gather together today, we all have at least one thing in common. We're in a college course. That means that we have had lots of teachers. Some of us have had great teachers, while others not so great. I had the fortune of having a wonderful teacher who taught me my outlet was art. I was not diagnosed with ADHD until after high school. So I spent a lot of my time struggling in middle school, and she took the time to notice and help me. And that can change a child's outlook. Have you ever struggled with something and there were resources available to you? Well, when children are diagnosed with atypical behaviors, there are many resources available to them. So the sooner or earlier that you get a child diagnosed, the sooner that they are going to be able to be set up for success. I have spent a lot of time with children. I've spent the last 4 years of my life dedicated to working with children and helping them succeed. I am a 4K teacher, and I have spent 2 of the last 4 years in college courses in child development. Today I will tell you about the typically developing child, the atypically developing child, and how and when you should have your child tested. So let's start with what we know about child development. What do we know? What should we know? Children typically develop on a curve. Sometimes children are ahead, while sometimes they fall behind. When a child is slightly ahead or slightly behind, that is nothing to be concerned about. But as we look at our typically developing child, we look at the 4 stages of cognitive development, which are sensory motor, which is from birth to age 18 months to about 24 months. And this is when infants use their senses and their large and small motor skills to learn about the world around them. The second stage of development is pre-operational, and this is from about 2 to 6 years old. And this is when children learn language and when they are using their imaginations to learn about the world around them. While third is concrete operational, and this happens when a child is from 6 years old to 11 years old. And this is when they apply logic. They apply logic to their experiences. When a child is in their formal operational stage or the last stage, it's from 11 years old and above. So this is when they use hypothetical situations, analytical, abstract situations. This helps the children to develop. The other thing that children use to develop is their milestones. So these are just stepping stones from one stage of development to the other. So if a child is 1 year old and they're learning how to walk, or if a child is 5 years old and learning how to write a letter. When we test children, we mainly use assessments and checklists. And you look on here and you see health and physical development, social and emotional, all sorts of different things that your child should be able to do. So if they're not able to accomplish any of these tasks or most of these tasks at a certain age, it's an area of concern. It doesn't mean they're atypical, it just means that it's a concerning development. Other things that are used are little counters, little bears, little fun things, markers and crayons and things that help keep children entertained. Studying children is usually very simple to do because they are grouped by age. And when you are studying their behaviors, you're usually looking for their awareness, their language abilities, their fine and large motor skills, their social interactions, and their adaptive behaviors. This information that I learned from The Developing Person, which was written by Kathleen Berger, and this is the book that we used in my Developing Child course. Now that we understand what typically developing children look like, let's go ahead and talk about the atypical child and what are signs and what does it look like to have a child that is atypically developing. So when you're testing a child for typical development, it's the same as when it's for atypical. So you're still looking at their awareness, their language, their motor skills, their social interactions, and their adaptability. You're looking at their sleeping patterns, their eating patterns, as well as their aggression level. Are they aggressive towards themselves or towards other people? If your child is aggressive and they have any of these symptoms, the best thing that you can do for them is to start a log. So if you have a book, you want to write down the date, the time, what's happened, how long it's lasted, and how frequently it happens. And you want to decide, is there a pattern to any of this? And is it cultural? Is it concerning? Or is it environmental? What is setting the child off? When you decide it's none of those things, it is time to contact your primary care physician. Your primary care physician is able to get you to the resources that you need, such as a specialist or a support group, or they can just give you access to the information that you need. As we have learned today, we have talked about the atypical child, the typical child, and what to do if your child is developing atypically. So the sooner that you get your child tested, the better it is for your child, the sooner that they're able to be set up for success. Because with a diagnosis, you are giving a personalized behavior plan. You're given access to research. You have support groups. And when testing children, we give them opportunities and resources to give them a higher rate of success.